I wanted to talk about the Book of Boba Fett and what I thought. So let's talk about the Book of Boba Fett. So I put out a couple polls on the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel, sort of gauging what people thought about the show and what people were thinking. And look, it's it's confusing. I think even if you like the show holistically, or even love the show holistically, I don't think you can deny that this show is confusing. It is just confusing, to say the least. Because you have these first 4 episodes that are consistent, at least, about Boba Fett, and I didn't love them, to be fair. And then you have episodes 5 and 6, which are not from the show at all. And then you have episode 7 that attempts to tie some of it together. And I'm confused. I was thinking about what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were thinking, you know, when they came up with the concept of this show and sort of planned it out. My guess is that they really were just thinking this was sort of a little chapter, like it's a book of Boba Fett in the overall story of The Mandalorian. But I would have appreciated this more sort of if it came like at the beginning of Mandalorian season 3 with the addition of the Book of Boba Fett. You know, so like Mandalorian season 3 is 4 extra episodes or 5 extra episodes longer than the other 2 seasons. So like 15 episodes or so. And the first 4 are, you know, this with the special Book of Boba Fett, you know, and he becomes important because Mandalorian comes back to Tatooine and helps him out. I think that makes a lot more sense than just having a show called The Book of Boba Fett, and then having 2 Mandalorian episodes in the middle. The first 4 episodes I thought were okay. Varying degrees of okay. I don't even think I made it through the 3rd episode. I watched the 3rd episode late at night, obviously when it came out, and I was very tired. But, you know, I wanted a commitment, right? I think the 3rd episode was the one with the bikers that he recruits, the Power Ranger kids. And I think I fell asleep at the end of it, to be honest. And I don't think I missed anything either. The first couple episodes were interesting to kind of see Boba Fett going through with the Tusken Raiders and stuff, but it didn't pay off at the end. Like, I would have thought maybe a Tusken Raider army comes out at the end to help him. The only thing that got paid off at the end really was the Rancor, which, you know, fine. It was kind of cool to see him, on a Rancor, Boba Fett riding a Rancor again. But yeah, even just from the beginning of the show, it kind of felt like something was off. And I actually rewatched the scenes of Boba Fett from Mandalorian season 2, and he is just a different character. And it's stunning because it's the same director, Robert Rodriguez, who's doing Book of Boba Fett, who did that episode of Mandalorian that I love because that warrior Boba Fett who's using the gaffy stick and just no mercy Boba Fett. Now he's just some guy wearing the armor whose name is Boba Fett. He is not Boba Fett. And that's disappointing. You know, it's disappointing. But then, you know, we hear the Mandalorian theme at the end of episode 4, and you kind of think, oh, he's going to come in for an episode and kind of leave, guest starring, you know. Remember when guest stars were a thing in the sitcoms and stuff like that? Anyways, when Brad Pitt shows up on Friends, that kind of thing, I was like, yeah, you know, it's going to be a fun episode. And I turn it on, watching it with a friend, and it isn't just a fun episode, it's a Mandalorian episode. And it's a fantastic, well, I should say, in my opinion at least, the first half is a fantastic Mandalorian episode, because that episode, Return of the Mandalorian, reminded me of everything I loved and hated about the Mandalorian. I loved the first half, the mythology of the Darksaber, Mandalorian cutting somebody in half and just, you know, going, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. And with the female Mandalorian, the armorer, and Paz Vizsla, I believe, like that was just awesome. And then you bring in, what's her name, Pelimoto, and I I've heard people say that they don't care or they like her. Not her, just like her and her droids and that kind of whole vibe. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the actress or anything. Amy Sedaris, I believe. I hate that, that whole aspect of the Mandalorian. Tatooine, that Tatooine aspect of it all. It reminds me of the prequels and the bad parts of the prequels, not the stuff that I like about the prequels. And man, and I know a lot of people love the Naboo N1 Starfighter. I think it's cool. I just think it's not my favorite ship. By the way, I know they're calling it a Fire Spray now, Slave One or whatever it's called, is my favorite ship in Star Wars, and I'm really sad we didn't get to see a lot more of it until like episode 6 or something, or episode 4 or 5 or 6, 7. I don't remember. They all blend together now at this point, but yeah, I think it was episode 4. We got to see Slave One. That was really cool. But yeah, episode 5 was really hit or miss for me. I was like, okay. The best parts of The Mandalorian and the worst parts of The Mandalorian. Episode 6 comes around, and I'm like, this is crazy. Because that was a crazy episode of some hybrid of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker. Who, yeah, I didn't love I didn't hate the episode season 2 CGI Luke, but I didn't love it either. I don't feel any, I think it's better, obviously, but I don't care really. Like I say, visuals are never really going to make or break a movie or a show. I watched Spider-Man No Way Home the other day. I think there are actually some really obvious green screen moments in certain places, like in the mirror dimension. I think it's really obvious, actually, that Doctor Strange is just walking along a green screen. Anyways, I'll let aside. But yeah, no, I was like, I don't, just, this isn't, this is fine, but it doesn't bother me that much. But you get all of this, Grogu training stuff, and you get Ahsoka, and you get Mando, and you get R2-D2, and you're just like, this is a great show. It's not the Book of Boba Fett, but it's a great show. And then episode 6 ends with Cad Bane, and you're like, oh, this is a great Boba Fett show. And so you're kind of going into the finale like, yeah, like, what's going on here? Like, what are we going to get in the finale? And the way that I would put the finale is that it's a good finale for a different show. I think Cad Bane is the perfect villain to have in the Book of Boba Fett. I don't think that he's the perfect villain to have in this Book of Boba Fett, because he was in one episode and like 5 seconds of another one. If you build him up to have all this history and backstory with Boba Fett, in this show, because I know he has Clone Wars backstory, and then you kill him off, I think I'm a little more okay with that. To kill him off like this just feels disrespectful. I know Dave Filoni has his finger on the pulse of Star Wars pretty well, but that just didn't feel like it was it. I feel like in that instance it was just kind of like, that was a misstep. I know all the backstory, but you didn't even talk about that much of the backstory. Like, you had a couple lines from Cad Bane. He was like, I remember you as a warrior, something like that, and that was it. And that, look, I think this show just kind of reminded me that I like The Mandalorian a lot more than the Book of Boba Fett. I liked the Boba Fett from The Mandalorian more than I liked the Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett. And it also actually kind of reminded me I didn't like a lot of parts of The Mandalorian. I love it. I like it overall. But if you've been watching the channel, and I reviewed every single episode from season 2, I'm not the biggest fan of The Mandalorian. I think it's like a B tier show for me. It has S tier and A tier elements, obviously, but it's sort of, it's there. I'm very excited for a show like Obi-Wan that hopefully doesn't have much filler. Maybe even Andor that doesn't have much filler. Ahsoka, I'm hoping. But Mandalorian, the vibe, the Star Wars-esque nature of it, it's all great. So yeah, I mean, Boba Fett was a swing and a miss. I don't even think it was that much of a swing, because they eventually were just like, let's just make Mandalorian again. And it kind of just came and went. It's a show where you should just probably watch episodes 4 and 5 and then just be done with it. Or sorry, 5 and 6 and just be done with it. So there's that.